Video evidence is more common now than at any other time in human history. Ring cameras, dash cams, security cameras, police body cams, red light cameras, sometimes video caught by passersby. It's everywhere. When I started practicing, it was a rare day when there was video or recording of an accident or an incident. Today, many people will either tell me that they have a recording or perhaps believe, whether it be correctly or incorrectly, that there is a recording somewhere out there. The working assumption for a lot of people who come to me now is that there is a video of the event and that it's got to be secured as soon as possible. So let's talk more generally about, like, when does the obligation to preserve video even kick in? Like, when is it triggered? When does someone have to, like, save a video? So the general rule in New York is that a person or a party has a duty to preserve a video recording when a claim or maybe a lawsuit is something that is foreseeable or likely. So let's talk about a simple example. If a car runs a red light and hits you and you get hurt, that would be a classic example of when a video, like say from a dash cam, or if someone had their phone going, recording something inside the car, like that would be a perfect example of when, like, yeah, you got to save that video. Most likely someone other than yourself is going to need to see that. Now, let me ask you, let me put this question out there to the viewer, right? What happens if you run a red light and you hurt someone and your dash cam recorded it? Do you need to save that video? The answer is yes. The obligation to preserve video or save a video does not turn on who's right or who's wrong. Like if you're the wrongdoer, God forbid, and there's a recording of it, yeah, you got to save it, especially if you suspect someone's going to claim an injury or there's obvious property damage to the other car that might have been involved. And I'm not going to sit here and be a doomsayer or someone who's going to try and put the fear of God into people. But if you start deleting things that could be incriminating, I mean, generally speaking, that could be a crime. So I don't recommend it. If you're going to be a person who is going to be actively recording his or her life on a daily basis, whether it be through dash cams, through just constant live streaming, or whatever means, like sometimes people set up Nest cams to record the interior of their homes for whatever reason. You got to save the video if something happens. Personally, I'm kind of dumbfounded why people want to live a life like that. That's probably speaks to people who are different from me and choose to live their life differently than I do. But that's not for me. But if that's something that you do, like, just understand that if you catch something that maybe involves you doing something wrong or you hurt somebody, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally, like, yeah, you're going to have to save video like that. Okay. So people ask me a lot, like when they come to me, whether it be after a car accident or maybe they slip and fell somewhere and there's a security camera, but maybe they come to me like weeks or months later and they're concerned that maybe a recording that was made is no longer available. What can we do about that in that instance? Well, sometimes there's nothing we can do. But if someone gets to me relatively soon, the first order of business that usually happens is that I send out what's called a letter of representation. In fact, all lawyers usually do this. We have to send out a letter notifying the person who we allege did wrong to our client, the tortfeasor, to use the 10-cent word. We notify the tortfeasor, the wrongdoer, that, hey, we represent Mr. Smith. And as you know, Mr. Smith was hurt by your negligence on whatever date, and turn this letter over to your insurance company. Letters often now, my letters, all of them, will go out with very bold-faced, very direct language that directs them to preserve any video that there may be, and secondarily to disable any auto-deletion settings that there might be on the recording software or the recording programs. Like, for example, security cameras, closed circuit camera systems at like stores or other establishments, they might be set up to auto delete recordings after a week or after a month. So there is a window where you might still be able to get a video preserved if it wasn't necessarily an incident that was obvious to everyone involved right away. I've had that happen. Like maybe someone slipped and fell in the small hours of the evening when no one from the store or the establishment was available. And maybe they wouldn't even have known to check the video because no one told them about something important as soon as they should have. So I do recommend that people, make the effort to act sooner rather than later for a lot of reasons. The primary one being like you want to secure the best evidence possible as soon as possible. And even if a party like a shopkeeper or a store owner doesn't want to give up the video, as long as they get a letter saying, hey, save that video, preserve that video until further notice, that can be good enough too. Like it's not necessarily the gold standard where you don't get to see it right away, but as long as you know it's preserved and saved, that can take a lot of the stress and the anxiety out of the situation while you figure out, how to proceed in the short term. So again, asking for a copy of the video, and then secondarily asking for the disabling of any auto-deletion parameters or permissions that are set up in a system or a program, that comes secondarily. So then finally, what happens if you've done all of that and maybe there was a video and then maybe it comes out that video was deleted, and maybe it comes out that the video was deleted for less than innocent reasons. Well, I'm not going to get into the media sections of this topic, but there is a concept in the law known as spoliation of evidence. And again, to our viewers online, I'm a New York State attorney. The rules of law that I speak about generally concern things as they are in New York State law. If there was to be something involving federal law, which there can be differences for, I would distinguish that. But more often than not, when I'm talking on these videos, it's about New York State specific law. So the concept of spoliation of evidence can come into play when every effort's been made to get a video preserved, but for whatever reason, what was once available is no longer available. So what happens when you have one of these situations evolve? Well, generally speaking, an affected party can ask a judge to come about with certain relief or fashion certain relief to try and balance the scales when it can be shown that maybe the person who deleted the video did so either intentionally or maybe negligently. So maybe not they didn't specifically intend to wipe it out, but maybe through some carelessness, it can be equated to almost being intentional. The most sweeping relief that a judge could award in that situation could actually result with you winning your case by default. That's rare. It doesn't happen often where someone's conduct is deemed so egregious that a judge feels like, hey, you've just destroyed the injury victim's ability to prove their case. There's no other way to balance the scales here other than to award them a win by default. That is exceptional. That does not happen often. It does happen, but not often. But there are also several other lesser, like severe options, which could still put someone, an injury victim, in a pretty strong position if that case has to advance to like a trial phase. And there's all sorts of things that I can discuss about spoliation of evidence, but I think that would be best to save for maybe a future video because it can get a little more involved. But for today's purposes, I think we've covered enough ground. And the key is, like with a lot of stuff in my day-to-day practice, is to act quickly, act swiftly, and engage an attorney to help you preserve all important evidence as soon as you possibly can.